we are about to discuss episodes 1 through 6 of Tales of the Jedi. So, I have actually put up my quick reviews. I did a review on the 3 Ahsoka episodes and a review on the 3 Dooku episodes. Where did this series land for you, TJ? Did you enjoy it as much as you thought you did? Did you enjoy it more? Were you kind of anticipating it? Is it what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I thought it was a very good series. I thought it'd start off pretty slow and poor with the first episode. It was just kind of boring. Wasn't all that interested in that Ahsoka story.
Yeah.
But I will say I thought it picked up with the second, third, and fourth episode. Fourth one being probably my favorite, I'd say. I probably fourth episode and the sixth episode being my favorite episodes. That was great to see a Dooku story that I don't know if it had been told in any books or anything. I could be wrong. But that was really interesting to see. And how we kind of time jumped through, I'd say probably all 3 movies, correct? All 3 prequels, maybe just 1 and 3.
No, for Dooku, or do you mean just for
one?
Dooku or for all of them?
Yeah, just for
Sorry.
Dooku. Just
For Dooku, it was actually the third. So I don't know why they did this with the order. Episode 4.
One.
No, episode 4 takes place during the Phantom Menace, but then episode 2, his first episode, takes place about 30 years before the Phantom Menace. And then episode 3 takes place about 10 years before the Phantom Menace.
I was getting them mixed up with the Ahsoka episodes.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what is he talking about? But then I remembered the Ahsoka episodes go all through episode 3 and then into, Bad Batch territory.
So I thought that was all great. And I thought I was really happy to see that Ahsoka story in episode 6. I thought that was really interesting. And the amount of are we doing spoilers? Like,
yeah, no? I think we can do spoilers real quick.
With what ease that Inquisitor was chopped down. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and then he deflated. I don't know what that was about.
But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting for Star Wars Visions. I watched the first episode and then the next one didn't really get me, and I just kind of trailed off after that.
Yeah.
But I will say I thought this was a very good showing from Star Wars Animation, and excited to see what other stories they can tell.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. So like I talked about in my 2 other reviews, kind of, I think I kept those non-spoiler. Yeah, those are definitely non-spoiler. So I'd be happy to get into my spoiler thoughts here. I definitely would say on the whole, I think that not even closely. I did like episode 6, but I think not even closely. 1, 2, and 3 spots for me are the 3 Dooku ones. I think that episode 4, the Sith Lord, is easily the best episode. Yeah, easily the best episode out of them. I just rewatched the Sith Lord again right before we went live today, and I think it's just fantastic. I literally think it's some of the best 15 minutes of Star Wars we've ever gotten, period. I know I sent you on Snapchat just this, and we're in full spoilers now, so well, I should say this. If anybody's watching, it is full spoilers for Tales of the Jedi, but if you've watched Star Wars, I was about to say something about Qui-Gon's death, and I was like, that's not a spoiler really, but when the episode 6 starts, and it's just the pan down to the Force tree at the Jedi Temple that we've seen in many times before in the Clone Wars and everything. We even see that vision that Yoda has of kind of what could have been, where Dooku is still a Jedi and stuff, and they're all gathered around that tree. But just the music in this, with Kevin Kiner's score again off of Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rebels, all of his animation work, the score in this is just eerie. It was eerie and sad and like worrying, especially in that opening scene when Dooku is just standing there like by himself, and Yaddle comes up to him and he says, I used to bring Qui-Gon here when he was a boy, like, and you could just, for the first time, and I have always loved Dooku as a character, I know we both have, one of my favorites, not technically a novel, but one of my favorite Star Wars canon things is Dooku Jedi Lost. I think that's easily one of the top 5 stories, written stories, I should say, that they've come out with in the new canon. And these episodes, somebody like you or somebody who's only seen Dooku from the movies, not even let alone seen him in Clone Wars, I think that these episodes gave me new stuff to appreciate about Dooku, and I've read Dooku Jedi Lost or listened to it twice. Like, I love anything I can get my hands on with Dooku. Back when I was a kid, like 10 years old, in the library, literally the public library, one of my favorite books of all time was this book called Legacy of the Jedi, and on the front, it had Yoda with a young Dooku under him. It had Dooku with a young Qui-Gon under him, Qui-Gon with young Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan with young Anakin under him. And that was one of my favorite books because it talked about that lineage of that Force lineage going from Dooku down to Ahsoka. And even though I didn't like the Ahsoka episodes as much as I liked the Dooku ones, absolutely phenomenal choice to, like the famous George quote, it's like poetry, it rhymes. I thought that the rhyming of starting with Dooku, who's kind of the great-great-grandfather of Ahsoka in the Force lineage, and then Ahsoka showing 2 Jedi that kind of lost their way, left the Jedi Order, one found their way again, came back to the light, and you see in episode 6 that she tries to turn away from the light. Bail Organa, reminds her of, just because this fight has ended, just because the Clone Wars are over and we have lost, does not mean that the fighting stops. And I loved seeing that because, again, Bail Organa is another one of my really favorite. I got all my favorite characters in this. Kanan showed up. Bail Organa showed up. It was fantastic. Like there was just so much stuff. Even like I said in the episodes that I didn't care for as much, which were the Ahsoka ones, there was still so much there, and kind of the two sides of the same coin almost with Dooku and Ahsoka. I thought was really touching and just written so well. Like, and again, to quote Christian Harloff, who harps on this all the time, why Kevin Kiner is not scoring live action Star Wars shows absolutely baffles me. And that's not to say I don't know which one he would score, because I think that Ludwig has been doing great work. I think that Natalie Holt did great work on Kenobi, and I think that I guess maybe Kenobi. I guess Kevin Kiner probably would have been good in that. But yeah, I really enjoyed all 6 of them, but the Dooku ones a little bit more so. But what do you think? Let's focus on the Ahsoka ones a little bit here. What were some of your favorite moments from the Ahsoka episodes? And can you name me one positive thing you liked about the first episode? Life and Death, it was called.
From the Ahsoka episodes. Well, I did enjoy I did like the whole story of her kind of seeing her hiding out, and she kind of going by this alias now. I forget what her alias name is. Ashla, yeah, whatever. But it was really cool to see her like really powerful.
Yeah.
And you don't really get it. Like, you don't get it that it's not hitting you in the face, I guess. It's just like she just grabs his lightsaber and then just basically chops him down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And it's like, it just shows kind of her strength. And I really liked how the 5th episode led into the end of season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
Kind of going into that big room with all those troopers. I thought that was really cool, and she kind of does the whole callback to earlier in the episode. She's like, let's see if this training pays off, I thought that was really cool. From the first episode, honestly, I just can't give you anything just because it was so forgettable for me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the big tiger thing. I guess it was cool that, it kind of takes her away, but it doesn't, it's kind of, there's almost this like barrier around her, I guess, that it understands that it shouldn't kill her, I guess, or attack her.
Yeah.
But that's about it. That's all I got for you on the first episode.
No, yeah, that's fair. But I definitely do agree with you with just seeing her power, like, as badass. And obviously there are some things that I don't think were handled perfectly in 6. Like, I know you don't know this, but the book Ahsoka by E.K. Johnson, this
right, yeah, I
this
heard
really
that's
is
messed with canon a little bit.
Yeah, this really is, to me, and I think a lot of people, the biggest retcon / canon, not canon break, because nothing really breaks canon, because it's all, mythology type of thing. You could just say, well, this is the quick version, the book is what actually happens, type of thing, because it's an adaptation. But like, the brother character in this episode in the book was actually a LGBTQ character who was a girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the book. So people are kind of up in arms about that kind of erasure of just a character, from that community being represented.
Right.
But
yeah,
also, yeah. I'm of two minds on it, because I do think that it is just, okay, we are going to take what happened in the Ahsoka novel, and we have 11 minutes to tell it. So I do understand in the sense of, like, how do you properly represent all that stuff? And I do think that it's a challenge that probably could have been addressed a little more tactfully. I'm not saying that they did it as best as they could. I think that there definitely were things that could have been handled better. But also, like I said, this is really an adaptation of that novel that is just, if somebody wants to know, what happened with this bit of Ahsoka's life, it really quickly, here's the Tales of the Jedi version of what happened with her and the Inquisitor. And then there's even more in the book that obviously the book can't not be canon, because this, even if it did retcon fully things, it only retcons a portion of the book. So, that's really the way that I look at it. But I think that if you do have complaints about that, it's totally valid. But like you said, with her power, I've seen people, complaining about, how did she just, like, trounce that Inquisitor like that? Girl was jumping hundreds of feet on Mandalore, holding off Maul with a force pull on his ship, and holding off an entire clone battalion with just the Force, as the Super Star Destroyer was crashing to the planet's surface. Like, and also, not to mention, granted it's like 20 years later, but also holds her own again against Vader, 4 Inquisitors, and Maul all on the same night. Right. Does she survive? Questionable time mechanics, but either way, Ahsoka is very powerful, and this episode was a, hey, if you were doubting her power at all, don't. Because, and then I think that also then leads into practice makes perfect. Some of the best positives of that is it really goes to show you, that old Rey complaint of, like, oh, she doesn't have any training. It's like, not that anybody complained about that with Ahsoka, really, but it just goes to show you her master was Anakin. He is going to push her to her absolute limits of power and ability and all this stuff. And I think that it just showed that great. Like, I wanted more from the Ahsoka episodes. But I think what we did get, and I will be with you on this, I think with the exception of the first episode, because I think the first episode really was just, I don't know if it's out of place or weak or whatever you want to call it. I just think the first episode just doesn't play as well as the other 5. it also doesn't have any really familiar characters that we can connect to, which also, you know, could be part of it. But yeah, I think even the stuff I didn't like about the Ahsoka episodes, I think still there was some great kind of Star Wars stuff to be mined from them. And for somebody who isn't as familiar with Ahsoka, I think you show them those 3 episodes and they're going to have a much better understanding of who she is as a character and what she's all about. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit just because I feel like we haven't really shined on them as much as the other 4. Let's start with Justice. So this is Dooku's first episode with him and young Qui-Gon Jinn, voiced by Liam Neeson's son, which is cool. I do think he sounds a little off, but maybe a younger version because also, you know, Qui-Gon is supposed to be like 50 when he dies, and this is supposed to be like a, you know, 18, 19-year-old Qui-Gon, so you obviously can't get Liam Neeson to do it. Although, wonderful, again, seeing Liam Neeson and Ian McDiarmid in episode 5, or episode 4 was fantastic. Yeah. That was great. It just broke my heart. I was like, I wish they could do these scenes with Christopher Lee. You know what I mean? Like, it'd just be so cool because, you know, I don't think, Liam never got to actually work with Christopher Lee on those movies. So it's like, I always like to know, like, does Liam Neeson know that, you know, oh, in Star Wars, you know, Ewan McGregor was my Padawan, but, you know, Christopher Lee was my guy. You know, like, does he know that? Like, that's so cool. I love Dooku and Qui-Gon's relationship. But anyways, speaking of Dooku and Qui-Gon's relationship, Senator doing real bad things to his people, starving them and everything. Dooku's not having it. He is not having it one bit. And then Qui-Gon has to step in and be the level-headed of the two. But what were kind of your thoughts on episode 2, Justice?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I liked that idea of them going to kind of save this child of the senator who apparently didn't know they were going. And it was more kind of seems like it was more an idea just to see how this why it happened almost.
Yeah.
And when Dooku sees that, he gets it. And then you see kind of his mind work and how it's like, you know, we're being told to rescue this boy and check up on him and everything, but like there's a reason that he was kidnapped. You know, what other choice? I forget if he says it or somebody else. I think the kid actually says it.
Yeah.
Says,
what other choice do they have? That was great.
To get the detention, and I think that's a really good idea, and something that you see across these 3 episodes is Dooku like questioning the council and how the council just kind of blindly, and they say he's the 3rd episode of Dooku, where he's like, oh, like how does the council just blindly serve the Senate when, you know, they should be asking questions. They shouldn't be just doing what they're told. There's some line about law in there too that I thought was a really good line.
I don't know if it's the one you're talking about, but I love when the senator says, you know, arrest these men, and he says, you know, you serve the Senate, and he says, you know, we don't serve the Senate, we serve the people of this republic.
When
like
he
that,
said the people
like,
too, I immediately, when he was about to say that, I go, he's gonna say the people. Yeah. And that's what he said. But yeah, I thought that was a fantastic like kind of intro. And something I just hadn't really seen before, really, I feel like. And maybe it's in books, or maybe it wasn't a book that I did listen to and I just don't remember. But his kind of just seeing those little inklings of defiance of the council and then seeing the questions he's asking, which I think were really important questions.
Yeah, 100%. I think then leading, I'd say... I really liked this episode as well. Definitely, I think probably my second favorite of the Dooku episodes. Just his relationship and the interactions with him and Qui-Gon, and also, like you said, these 3 episodes really show, you know, the downfall of Dooku, really beautifully and really, really well. Especially when you consider that it does it in 28 minutes. Like it's pretty insane how limited screen time. I think that's the one thing I could say for Tales of the Jedi is like how they conveyed this much dense story in really a full runtime of like less than 70 minutes, almost basically just an hour for all 6 episodes. I thought was fantastic. This one as well. Some of the things like you said, you know, we don't serve the Senate, we serve the people of this republic, I thought was fantastic. Seeing him, you know, force choke him, because really this is the first steps of, okay, it's not just that the council isn't doing enough. It's, I need to do things my own way, you know, oh gosh, you know, like I'm going to tap into this darker power because this guy, you know, to serve the greater good right now, I'm going to kill this guy. But Qui-Gon is wise enough to know to serve the greater good right now, we need to have peace. We can't just kill this guy and be like, there, problem fixed, because now you're going to have a power vacuum. The people are still going to suffer. There's going to be unknown leadership, you know, all this stuff. And then you have that great line where he says to him, you know, Qui-Gon, you're a wiser man than I am, Qui-Gon Jinn. Which was fantastic. And then leading us into episode 3, Choices. This is the one with him and Mace Windu, where just right off the bat, I loved this. Probably number 3 for me in terms of the episodes. Still absolutely love this episode. But I think the best line in this whole thing is definitely when he says, you know, Master Windu, your devotion to the teachings of the council is both inspiring and maddening. I was like, that is like the like perfect, like to sum up Mace Windu in a nutshell. Like that is the perfect way to do it. But what did you think of this episode?
It's like one of those things where it's like, you know, I admire you that you are so, you know, you're so gung-ho for everything the council does. You want to be a part of it. You want to do what's best for the Republic and everything you believe. But at the end of the day, it's okay to think for yourself once in a while. And you don't seem to do that. I thought that was great, like you said. I liked it, but I could have done without the whole kind of senator getting killed. Like, I don't know, that story didn't really like work for me. I was really into the fact when they got there and Dooku's like, wait a minute, the shots came from here, like where are the shots on the ship, like how come
they're like investigating,
you know, I did like that, but like getting there I was kind of like whatever. But yeah, like you said, that was I think one of the best lines for me of that episode, or maybe of this whole kind of arc. And I feel like every episode had like 1 or 2 of those in that arc that was like, oh yeah, that's a really good point, or you know, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think out of the 3 for me, this is probably like 3rd out of those 3 episodes.
Yeah, I agree, and I do like that we got to spend a little more time with the kind of I say a little more time, really any time with the Mace and Dooku relationship, because we really only see them interact once in Attack of the Clones, and it's not a very long chat. But you know, I think it's interesting also to see just in general a younger Mace Windu. I mean, you know, about 10, 15 years younger than we've ever seen him here, prior to being on the council, which of course then this episode culminates in. The episode is called Choices, and direct result of these 2 characters' choices, Dooku made a choice, Mace made a choice, Mace got promoted to the Jedi Council. Dooku did not. You know, and you have that another fantastic line, and Corey Burton again as Dooku in this. Corey Burton, and then also Ashley Eckstein. Fantastic seeing her back as Ahsoka. I'm sure it won't be the last time we hear her back as Ahsoka again. But Corey Burton as Count Dooku I thought was fantastic. But again, a great line from him when Mace is being kind of Mace Windu about it, but he is a genuinely good person, that he says to Dooku, you know, I will put a good word in with the council about you. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're a good Jedi. It's like what Ki-Adi Mundi says in episode 2, you know, Count Dooku he's a political idealist, but he's still, you know, he might not be a Jedi anymore voluntarily, but he's still one of us. And then, you know, that great line from Dooku where he says, you know, I appreciate it, Master Jedi. Like, he's already starting to say Master Jedi as if he's starting to separate more and more from the Council. And then by the time we're in episode, you know, by the time we're in Dooku's third episode, you know, he's no longer even with the Jedi. So,
Right.
I just really loved the way that they did Dooku's arc in this. But yeah, anything else? Anything we might have missed that you like? How'd you feel about Obi-Wan and Anakin in this?
I thought that was a nice, quick scene that we got. We got a little banter back and forth, but that was about it. One thing I will say real quick about the third Dooku episode. What movie is Yaddle? What movie does she show up in?
Phantom Menace.
Is it okay? I could have sworn it was one of the later ones, and I was like, is this? I was like, is she really gonna die? Because I was like, isn't she in like 2 or 3 for like obviously like a split second, like you see her like in the corner. But okay, if she's in episode 1, then this tracks.
Yeah, that they lined up pretty well because she's in the Jedi Council scene when Qui-Gon tells them about Maul and everything, but then she's not in the rest of the movie. And now we know because right after that, she got into a fight with the Council and stepped away. She removed herself from the Jedi Council and then dies. So
that
makes
is something
sense.
I really did like about this episode was the idea of blaming the Council for Qui-Gon's death because they didn't take him seriously.
Yeah.
Which is just so Jedi Council. It's so like, you know, just keep it quiet because, you know, if we don't look at it, it's not there. You know what I mean? When clearly this evil and the Sith are growing like right under you. And it's again, something people always say. It's like, how do they not know? You know, like it's like staring you in the face. Like, and this is going to be a dumb question, but did we know Dooku deleted that from the system? Did we know that already?
We knew that it was somebody. I mean, we've never seen it before, but yeah, we knew that it was somebody using Sifo Dyas's code.
Right.
Because at the time of the third episode, Dooku's no longer with the Order, so he, you know.
Right. I really like seeing that because I couldn't, you know, it didn't bring up any memories. I was like, oh yeah, I remember, you know, them talking about somebody doing that, but that was really cool to see.
Yeah, 100%. I think if anything, maybe it was like I don't know. I can't even remember. It's some Star Wars thing somewhere. I think it was like, well, Dooku would have been the only person with access at that time type of thing. But yeah, I thought that was great. Again, I think that this show used those cold opens really well to the point where like the cold opens were sometimes like 3 or 4 minutes into the episode. And I would be like, oh my God, we're still like, it would cut to black for the cold open and then it would have the logo. Right. But in that cut to black before the logo came up, I literally was like, is it over? Was that it? But because like specifically in episode 6, I want to say, and in this one, so much happens in just the opening that I was like, that could have been its own episode as it is. Like just Yoda and just Yaddle and Dooku talking to Qui-Gon and then walking away from each other and her looking at him and realizing something's off and just being like, you know, are you okay, Dooku? And him just being like, I'm fine. You know, I thought that was fantastic on its own. And then you get the whole rest of the episode as like a cherry on top. And it was just so well paced. I swear I'm going to watch these, at least the 3 Dooku ones, probably repeatedly. Like I'm definitely not going to be done watching these anytime soon. Last thing I want to touch on, and then because the chat has demanded it, we do have to do a reaction to the Christmas Story 2 trailer. But before we do that, to close out, how'd you feel about Sheevy Palps showing up in this? Ian McDiarmid.
Good to see him back.
Back again.
Great to see him back. Same voice.
Have I been betrayed? I love that.
Yeah, thought that was awesome. Good to see.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. But guys, let us know, what did you think of episodes 1 through 6 of Tales of the Jedi? Did you like the Dooku stuff more, the Ahsoka stuff more, or did you just love it all and how it was kind of thematically intertwined throughout the show? Let us know that and more in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video on Tales of the Jedi.